Welcome to this week's edition of the Optimum Synergy Podcast with our friend and your host, Adam Huber. Join Adam as he takes you on a journey into the realm of detailing, business, and beyond. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to the Optimum Synergy Podcast. This is Adam Huber. I'm not going to do the usual intro. The reason why is because I don't have a guest, and I am doing this solo. So this is going to be probably a short podcast, and I'm okay with that because what I'm going to deliver in this short podcast is tons of value, like always, and you guys are still going to get a ton out of it. So, first of all, thanks is in order to all of you guys out there. What am I thanking you for? I am thanking you for the massive amount of podcast growth that we have seen over even just in the last 2 months. Guys, because you're paying the fee, and if you don't know what the fee is, I'm going to go over it real quick because apparently a lot of you guys are getting it, and apparently a lot of you guys are doing it. That's awesome. Keep paying the fee. It is important. It's very, very important. And it's not because I love looking at the metrics and seeing that we're growing month over month, podcast episode over podcast episode. Every single episode, we are growing. The stats are going up. It's not for my vanity. It is because I truly believe, and I hope that there is tons of value coming out of these episodes, and you guys are getting lots of value out of it, and you want more people to succeed. You want more people to be successful. That is the whole reason for paying the fee. So what is the fee? If you're new here, welcome. This podcast is free, but we do have a small fee that we want you to pay. And that fee is if you get value out of this podcast, meaning if you learn something that you can actively use in your own day-to-day or in your actual business, share the podcast. Share it with someone that you think could benefit from that information. A lot of the stuff that we go over is good for your day-to-day to improve you as a person. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you own a detailing business. It could just be improving yourself as a person. And what we're going to go over today, I don't care what industry you're in, this can help you. And so for you guys that are paying the fee, if you have been sharing to a particular set of people or group of people, meaning more than likely detailers, I want you to reach out to a different group of people. I want you to reach out to the guy who owns the chicken fried shop on the corner and say, you know what, Jimmy, I think this could really help you out. And share the podcast to them. So for you new guys, that is what the fee is. Sharing the podcast to people that you think could benefit the most from this. So, and I'm not kidding. I'm not lying to you guys. I've told many people before, I don't have the brain capacity to lie. And I really, truly, I think honestly mean that. I don't want to waste the time in trying to think of a lie and then try to remember it later on. It's just not in me. But I was just looking at the stats right before I came on to the podcast. We have literally, not figuratively, literally doubled in growth since just 2 months ago. The downloads have doubled since just 2 months ago. And what I thought would make for a great episode is, all of you right now listening to this, I'm in your ear canal, I'm in your little ear hole, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's so awesome. He's so lucky that he did that. No! Luck doesn't have anything to do with it. It has nothing to do with the fact that I work for Optimum or whatever. It might take me a little bit longer to do this same kind of growth if I was working somewhere else, sure, or if I was doing it on my own, sure. But these 3 basic rules that I'm about to tell you apply to no matter what you're doing, and you can apply it to yourself and any business today. After you get done listening to this 15 to 20 minute podcast, you can execute on this stuff right now. So what is it? What is the secret sauces? What is the Kentucky spices to grow a podcast in just a couple of months. And I'm not a guru. These are just very simple things that you can do in your business in your day to improve. First one, reach out to people in your area and post about them. What? What does that even mean? Adam, what are you talking about? It's simple. Think about the podcast. I reach out to people and ask them, hey, do you think that you would like to come on to my podcast and talk about yourself? People love to talk about themselves. They love to be posted about. Even if they say that they don't. Don't force someone into it. That's not what this podcast is about. But people love to be talked about. In every single one of your towns, I don't care what the population is, doesn't matter. You have someone who people know, that they are just naturally, people just naturally gravitate towards them, right? Reach out to them and say, hey, I would really like to get to know more about you, and then try and figure out a way for you to get to be able to post about them on your page, or to be able to write something about them, or do a video with them, or do some work for them maybe, so then they can reach out to the people they know and say, this guy is legit, this is who I recommend reaching out to. That is the whole premise of the podcast, people. I reach out to people, I have them talk about themselves, and then that's what makes for a podcast. That if I was just literally sitting here doing this kind of style of episode over and over again, not only would it get stale, but I would actually probably run out of things to talk about very, very quickly, because I love communicating with people. You need to love to communicate with people. So work on that. This part is probably the most important part, and it is, I know for a fact that very, 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 very few of you are actually doing this, and I know the reason why. It's because you're scared. And the reason why I know you're scared is because I felt the exact same way when I had my business. What am I talking about? Asking for the review, the call to action. On almost every episode, I ask you to pay the fee. And in multiple different episodes, I literally call it the call to action of the podcast. Maybe it slipped by some of you. Maybe while I was in your ear hole, because of my velvety sweet voice, you just didn't realize or put the numbers together what the call to action was and what the fee was, but that's what it is. It's the call to action of the podcast. Every episode, I ask you guys to share the podcast, which, as is shown, has literally doubled the growth of the podcast. Now, what if you did that exact same thing for your business? What if you said, sir, ma'am, if we delivered one of the best experiences that you've ever had, would you mind sharing that on your own personal Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever? I'll take whatever you can give me. I would really greatly appreciate that. Sir, ma'am, if we delivered an awesome experience for you, would you mind giving us a review? Thank you. I would really appreciate that. And here's the reason why you're scared. You're scared because what if they post a bad review? What if that vehicle that you poured your heart and soul into didn't measure up to that person's expectations? I can guarantee you that this podcast, there's people listening to it that hate my voice, that hate the content in it. They do whatever. For whatever reason, they're still listening. Maybe you're not. Maybe you shut it off a while ago. And I would desperately love for those people to reach out and say, this is what I think is wrong with your podcast, so I can improve on it. Now, I can tell you that my personality and people that have talked with me, I would hope would say the same thing. I don't necessarily really want to talk about detailing stuff. I like detailing just as much as the next person. I love putting on or polishing paint, whatever you want to say, making a vehicle look good and everything like that. But guys, that is not what brings you as an audience the most value. And that is not what gets me fired up every single day to talk to you. What gets me fired up every single day to talk to you is to do and say things that will improve your businesses. That is what I'm staying true to myself. So if you message me and say, because you listened to this episode and said, hey man, I just want to go back to learning how to polish paint. Listen, I'm perfectly fine with doing that on a video, demonstrating that, or even heck, doing it in real life. Like, I actually enjoy doing that in real life. But on a podcast episode, what I want is that while you're sitting there washing that car right now, you're getting fired up and you are getting actionable advice on what to do to improve your business right now. That is what I want this podcast to be. Not only because I believe that it helps you out the most, but because I believe that it helps out many other people. I want this podcast to help a broad range of people, not just be specific to just a group of people. But I remember when I had my business that I used to be scared to ask for that review. Because what happens if you do get that bad review? It sucks, guys. It hurts. The first time you get that negative review, and in fact, a lot of you post that first negative review in the Facebook groups. It hurts. It really, really hurts. You feel gutted because all of that hard work that you did is now just been thrown away and it's on display for anybody to come to your page and to see it. But there's a different way to look at criticism. And that is, are they right? Is there something in my business that I do need to change? Some people are just crazy. Some people you are not going to be able to satisfy them. That's fine. There's always the crazy ones out there. Let them be. But if a lot of times the criticism that we receive and hurts the most is because it's true and you know it's true. And that's when it really, really hurts. That's when maybe you should take a second to step back and say, shit, are they right? Could I make this better? Now you have to do an honest assessment of your business and you have to figure out if the feedback that they're giving you is reasonable. So if someone is going to give you feedback and they say that you should be doing your detailing services for free day in and day out, well, obviously, screw that person. They're insane. Move along. Don't listen to them. But if they weren't happy with, I don't know, the way that you did the windows that day, or I don't know, maybe they weren't happy with the way that the appearance of your shop looked. Maybe they weren't happy with the way that your vehicle looked. We all have really long days to where it's tough to clean the shop or clean the vehicle to make it look presentable. Insert common problem here, whatever that common problem might be. But guys, it's for with customers, it's all about a perception thing. And if you get that feedback and it hurts, it's because you know a lot of times that what they're saying is true. So take that criticism, turn it around, and say, thank you. I appreciate you being willing enough to take the time out of your day to leave a review like that, because it actually might mean that they are really big fans of yours and they care enough to give you negative review in order for you to turn it around. Think about that for a second. What if that person actually cares enough about your business to reach out to you and say, hey man, listen, you're messing up. And I really just want to try and help you through this. If anyone in here has ever had an addict in their family, drugs, booze, whatever, if you don't care about that person, you just push them off to the side, you push them out of your head, and you say, you know what? I don't care enough about you to put in the time and effort to try and help you. But if you really care about that person, to a certain extent, You reach out and you say, listen, I think you're going about this all the wrong way. I'm worried about you. You need to stop and you need to fix this. You do that because you care about that person. I realize we're talking about two kind of completely different things on the way end of the spectrum, but just think about that for a second. That person was either mad enough about a situation that they decided to write a bad review, or they cared enough to write a bad review to let you know that you're doing something wrong. Don't be so quick to be angry about the whole situation. Maybe look at yourself and say, is there something in here that I need to change? Point number 3, and I think that this one is actually probably the one that will help your businesses out the most, is that it's not about you, it's about them. What does that mean? Sounds like hippy-dippy, frou-frou honey, right? Like, I was going to say some bad choice words, but I don't know. I don't feel like putting the exclusive tag on this podcast yet. What I mean by it's not about you, it's about them, is 98% of you guys out there are posting content that you care about. You're posting pictures and videos that appeal to you, not your customer. Take 10 to 15 people that are not willing to pull punches with you and give you the God's honest truth, and reach out to them and say, listen, I am trying to improve myself and I'm trying to improve my business, and I need your help to do that. I need you to look at these couple of posts and tell me what they mean to you. Now, obviously, you're going to want someone who has no idea about the detailing world. They can be a car enthusiast, but as long as, if they're the type of guy that will sit and talk with you about which brand of wax is the best one for 6 hours, don't reach out to that guy and ask his opinion on this, because it doesn't matter. Your businesses, you should be trying to... There's some of you that operate really, really well in the super niche area of corrections and coatings, and that's it. And you only have customers that want the highest of high end. Okay, you guys are kind of excluded from this. But if you're a regular old detailing shop and you're a regular old mobile operation, you are trying to appeal to the 90% of the masses. And so when you post a 50-50 of super swirled up paint and then glossy paint, the average person is looking at that and saying, I have absolutely no idea what that is. All I see is paint. Like, okay, I see this over here, and then I see that it's somewhat shiny over here, but like, okay, that's great. A lot of you guys maybe don't even go that far. You just simply take a picture where you yourself are like actually standing up. You're 10 to 15 feet away. You are at an angle to the car, and then you take a picture, you post it, and people are supposed to care about it. And you talk about how clean this car is now. The only people that are going to maybe care about that post are the people that have that exact same car and say, oh, wow, that looks a lot better than mine. But what if you take a moment to put their hat on, what's inside their brain, and say, okay, I know you don't understand what I'm doing here. All you see is a clean car. Let me show you why you want a clean car. Let me show you why it's important to have a protected car. And try to key into that. Try and find a way to get inside their emotional center to where they get activated and say, oh, okay, I understand now. I understand why I should care about this. I could give you guys example after example, but I'm really interested to see if some of you can figure it out. Reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Text me and say, hey, I think I figured it out. I posted this. You're going to know if you posted something that resonates with people because people will comment on it. People will share it. People will like it. People will do whatever. If you're just throwing out pictures of clean cars, well, To the average person, they can drive down the street and see clean cars all day, even though to you they look disgusting because they're swirled up. They have bird stains, they have brake dust, they have whatever. Try and post about things that it doesn't matter to you, but it matters to them. Again, that kind of goes back to this podcast. Obviously, or I'm hoping that there are some things that I am saying on this podcast that are resonating with you guys, and you're learning from it, and you're doing things, and it's improving your business, and it's improving your lives. Because the only way that happens, the only way I get more downloads and listens is if those things are actually happening. Because the things that we're talking about are resonating with you guys. You're listening and you're saying, yes, that is what I needed to hear today. And that is what I'm hoping happens with this podcast. You're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to see a notification that there is a new episode of the Optimum Synergy podcast, and I want nothing more than for you to get out of that bed, and you cannot wait to listen to it. That is what I want from this podcast. More than anything else is for you to get out of bed and to get energized from this podcast and go out and execute on something. Because it is not enough to just go out and clean a freaking car. You guys did not start this business just to clean a car and to vacuum out kids' vomit all day long. You started this to build an empire. Start acting like a king and go out there and kill it. That is what this whole podcast is for. Go out there, do the things that you have to do every single day to build yourself up, build your business up, because they are one in the same. You cannot build something on a shaky foundation, and that foundation is built, and your business is built on you. You have to be that solid foundation. Go out there, do these 3 things, and be better. Go out, read books, and be better. Watch videos that matter. If you are caught up on, I don't care what it is, Game of Thrones, whatever, Bachelorette, Bachelor, if you guys are into that sort of thing. If you are caught up on those, start watching YouTube videos on how to create better videos, how to edit videos. Guys, do you think I got better at podcasting because I just started doing it more? Partly, yes. Secondly, I enrolled into a local Toastmasters, and I am going through that and learning how to speak better. Now, you're probably not noticing it because I'm pretty terrible at speaking and doing this podcast. There are several things that you guys could pick out and nitpick, and that's fine. I'm fine with being able to put myself out there for you guys to criticize and judge and everything like that, because at the end of the day, every single week, day in and day out, week in and week out, I am making myself better. And what's going to happen is 5 years from now, you're going to say, he's so lucky. He got all the breaks, and what a lucky guy. That is not what happens. You have to put in the effort and the time to be better, to take the constructive criticism or just criticism in general and become better. You cannot be stagnant. Wake up, go out, and be better today. Ask for the reviews. Post something that you don't know that you don't care about, but your people care about. That's all I have to say for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying the fee. It actually does truly matter to me, to not only me, but to the people that you're sharing it to. You are helping them. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Optimum Synergy Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you enjoyed the ride.